you always wanted to learn a Petrucci solo and understand how he thinks melodically, harmonically and rhythmically when he is composing a solo? Then stay tuned and welcome to the analysis and the lesson to the solo of the song Shattered Fortress Part 1. I'm Mr. Hombach, back from my practice cave, and before we begin I'm going to play the first part of the solo slow. And one thing I want to tell you is I have the tabs for you prepared as a PDF file. You can download them in the link which is in the description box. Just go on the link, download them, and you have the tabs for the first part of the solo. So let's start. So before we are learning the first part of the solo, we have to check out the background, the backing and everything that lies beneath that solo. And the bass guitar and the rhythm guitar is playing the following riff. Which is the main riff of the Root of All Evil song. But Petrucci is not really relying on that riff. He's not really outlining the riff. He's more playing and outlining the chords that the keyboarder Jordan Rudess is playing in this riff. And the chords are the following. We are starting with F minor, then G major, F sharp major, and F minor again. And Petrucci is trying to outline those chords more than the riff. Okay, now we can go to the solo, and the pickup line of the solo is a really interesting straight ahead. And it's a 7-note line which repeats an octave and adding 2 notes to the last 7-note phrase. So we have 7 plus 7 plus 2, which equals 16 notes. So yeah, we have 16 notes and we are filling up 1 bar, but the articulation is on the 7 group, not as usual on the 4 group, more on the 7 group. Line goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 1. But not only rhythmically is this riff really interesting, also melodically. Petrucci is playing a pentatonic, and I know this kind of pentatonic has some sort of term. It's maybe called the Japanese or the Cantonese or the Chinese or the Bamigoreng pentatonic. I don't know, I don't care, because I think in intervals. And for me it's a pentatonic that consists of the root, the flat 9, the 4, the 5th and the flat 6. In F minor. So it's really Asian sounding, Japanese sounding style, but yeah, I think of it in intervals, and he is dominating the sound straight ahead with this kind of pentatonic, that the complete solo sounds a bit more mystery and a bit more exotic. And this is really interesting about this pickup line, because it tells you straight ahead in which direction this solo is going to be. So after the first bar we are still in F minor. We are landing on the 13th fret of the B string, which is the 5th of F minor, and then we are playing this melody. Okay, this melody is really interesting because it resolves perfectly in the 3rd of the G major chord with this chromatical approach. 14, 13, 11, and then we're going to the 3rd of the G major. So this is a typical chromatical approach line to go into the third of another chord. And it's something that is mostly used by jazz players, but here it gives the solo a certain kind of tension and certain kind of exoticness. But not only the melody is really interesting, it's also really interesting what Petrucci is playing with the whammy bar in this melody, because he's dipping some notes. So he's dipping from the 13th fret into the 14th fret by pushing the whammy bar down and releasing it while he's pulling to the next fret. So now we are in the G major chord, we're starting on the third, sliding to the root, and now comes the following arpeggio. And this is a G major arpeggio starting on the fifth, pull off to the third, root, fifth, going to the minor sixth, root, third, and jumping to the third again. And this is something that Petrucci is using really often in this solo, major triads, but adding the flat six to the major triad to get it more Phrygian, Asian sound. Then after that comes this melody. We are starting on the third from the G major, dipping, dipping into the fifth, pulling to the third back again, and resolving into the 11th fret of the D string, which is the fifth of the F sharp major chord, and now we are in F sharp major. After he's landing on the fifth of the F sharp major, he's jumping to the third of the F sharp major. Next comes this section here. We are starting on the F sharp on the E string, and then we are pulling chromatically to the D sharp and sliding to the D, which is again the flat six of the F sharp. Then we are going to the third of the F sharp, the root, and the fifth. And I highly recommend you to play the third and the root with your middle finger and do that kind of roll type of thing with your finger, where you are playing middle rolling, and then your index finger for the fifth to slide back here to the F sharp on the D string. Now we are playing the octave, 7th fret on the B string, back to the octave below, jumping with our index into the third of the F sharp, and doing a dive bump. Next comes this big legato section. We are starting on the 5th fret on the G string, and we are ascending the F Phrygian scale, and now descending the F Phrygian scale. Then we are jumping to the 8th fret on the D string, ascending the scale, sliding to the 3rd fret of the D string, and again ascending and descending the scale. Same fingering as on the 5th fret down here. Then we are playing the 6th fret on the A string, descending, ascending, descending, going to the E string where we have the stretch from the 6th fret to the 4th fret, to the 2nd fret, descending, ascending, descending, ascending, descending. So this is rhythmical wise really funny. And descending on the B string. Then we have the 6-note phrase, starting on the F on the B string, the 6th fret, 7, 9, 6, 8, 9, repeating that in the octave. I'm sorry. And resolving into the F, which is the first note of our next chord progression, or the repeating of this chord progression. So let me play this legato section again. So as I've said, we are now in the repeating of this chord progression, so we're starting back again with the F minor chord, beginning on the root, and playing the fifth, and then playing this Arabic type of melody. The root, the fifth, 11th fret on the B string, again to the fifth, 13th fret on the B string, bending to the 14th fret on the B string, and pulling back to the 11th fret. 13th, 11, and then we're jumping to the 15th fret on the B string. And now we are back in the G major chord, and the 15th fret is the D, so it's the 5th of the G major. He's doing a rubato with his drum. Going to the 12th fret, the 3rd of the G major chord, and now we are having this kind of line. This is a G major arpeggio starting on the 3rd, then the 19th fret on the E string, 19th fret on the E string is going to the 15th fret on the E string, the flat 6 again on the 16th fret on the B string, the 5th on the 15th fret on the B string, 4th on the 17th fret, 3rd, 16th fret, root, 7, 5th, 4. And next comes this big legato action. I'm trying to play it slow. I hope I don't mess it up, because this is not so easy to play, especially slow. But let me try it out. So we are starting on the 3rd of the G major chord. We are still in the G major chord. I'm playing 3rd, 5th, so 3rd, 4th and 5th on the 14th fret, 15th fret and 17th fret. Then playing the same notes, just an octave higher. Tapping the flat 6 again. Descending the line and then jumping to the F sharp major. And here's one important thing. Try to play the first note of the F sharp major line here, the 14th fret on the E string, on the downbeat, on the 1. This is something I see often in some covers and even in some live versions from Petrucci, that, whoop, my plectrum fell down. And also some live videos from Petrucci where it's playing the tapping note on the downbeat on the first beat of the bar. But no, in the recording he is having the 14th fret on the E string on the 3rd bar. So focus on that, try to play it that way. It's more rhythmical, and I think it's more interesting than playing the tapping note on the first downbeat of the bar. Okay, let's check out the next section. We are playing 14th fret, 16th fret, 18th fret and tapping 20th fret. Playing it twice. Then hammering from nowhere into the 18th fret of the G string, pulling off to the 16th fret and the 15th fret, tapping this time on the 23rd fret, playing it again twice, and now comes the tricky jump. We are jumping from the 15th fret on the G string to the 15th fret G string to the 16th fret D string, which is basically the same note, but he's jumping here, hammering from nowhere, playing this line, 20, 18, 16, 18, 20, tapping on the 23rd fret, playing that again twice, then jumping to the 20th fret on the D string, on the A string, sorry, playing the same fingering, but this time tapping on the 20 notes fret on the E string, A string. Going to the same fingering on the E string without tapping and sliding to the 13th fret of the E string. Okay, playing it again. I know it's a bit confusing. So now we are at the final section of this first part of the solo. We are back in the F minor chord when he's outlining the F phrygian scale, starting on the root note, 13th fret on the E string, and going up to the 5th, 13th fret on the B string. Then we're going 14th fret on the B string, pulling off to the 13th fret, and then we're going 16th fret on the G string, which is the diminished 5th. Back to the 13th fret on the B string, and then we're going chromatically from the diminished 5th to the 3rd, and bending from the 7th note to the root, which is 16th fret bending to the 18th fret. So, I hope you liked the first part of this lesson series and the first part of this solo. Stay tuned, next Saturday is coming the second part. And if you like this video, then thumbs up, share, subscribe. You know all the stuff you have to do when you're liking my solos. So, I'm going to see you next Saturday when it comes to part 2 of Shadow Fortress, the ultimate Petrucci solo.